Hey everybody, it's Lonnie with the show Entertainment, Lighting, Sound, and Events. And this video is going to be about lighting. I just want to mention to everybody that if you are looking for lighting, I happen to sell lighting now with my company, and you can go on eBay and find some of my lights. Right now I'm just starting out doing some small stuff like the flat bars, but I can do some moving heads and other things as well. So if any of you are looking for lighting, please contact me. I think my name under eBay is Eldridge201. That's ELDRIDGE 201. But if you look for a lot of 10 flat bars, that's me, or one of them anyway. Anyway, what I wanted to bring up today, this goes out to Tim Veach from 2 Sound Productions. Tim, how you doing? He and I have discussed a few things lately regarding hype versus reality, and I agree a lot with what Tim is saying to a great extent, actually. And Tim has kind of had a lot of people discussing that 120 watt movers are better than the 250 spots that he has, or maybe some other ones, or that the flat bars for uplighting are better than your standard can bars, whether it's the older style with lamps or bulbs versus the newer LED style. And he brings up a good point, which is true, which is the same thing I've thought, that in the guest's mind, they don't care. Whether you have a flat bar or you have a can light, all they care about is that it looks really cool. And the reality is, short of in between the tricolor LED flat bar and the regular flat bar, sure, the tricolor LED might be twice as bright, but in a real world setting, again, if you're going to have a number of different lights set up, most of the time your regular flat bar is going to take care of most of your needs. And in comparing that to a regular bar can, they both virtually put out the same type of light. And I'm sure even Mikey from Direct Sound would agree. I'm sure a lot of you can weigh in and agree as well. The whole point is that all that matters in the end is what the light looks like, or what the type of light coming out of the light looks like. The guest or customer doesn't care what the light itself is. So if you're going to try to sell some people on my equipment is this and my equipment is that, they don't care. All they care about is that your equipment sounds good and it looks good, and that it works. That's all they care about. It doesn't matter if you have $10,000 worth of Crown amps, or maybe you've got $1,000 or $2,000 worth of a couple Gemini amps, or whatever it is. As long as they're working and it sounds good, that's all that matters. Now, I know that there are differences in amps and mixers and, of course, speakers for the way things sound, and it is important to try to get that. I'll admit myself, I've tried to get away with buying some cheaper speakers in the past, and I didn't like them. They were cheap, they sounded tinny, and I'm sure a lot of you can understand that as well. So there is a difference there, but again, that's kind of trial and error, and we can talk about that another time. But I just wanted to bring up the whole point of hype versus reality regarding lights, because Tim brought that up, and it was true that there are a lot of people that are really buying into the LED 120 spot because it saves so much on your power draw, and that's true, it will. But they're now coming out with 160 watt LEDs, and I believe now they've even got a 300 watt LED moving head. And before you know it, what ends up happening is these LED lights start to become as much of a power draw as the older regular halogen or bulb lamp lights, or whatever it is. You can talk to Tim from 2 Sound. He knows a lot more about that than I do. The power draw starts to become the same. No different than those tri-LEDs, the flat bars that I do sell them, and other people sell them as well. So if you want those, I can get them for you. But even though they put out twice the light or just a little more, they also draw twice the power. And Mike and I talked one time, and I knew this already, but he brought up a good point, which is true, that in his area of the country, they are starting to charge a lot, or at least some, for power. So if you need to start taking up more power for your lights and your sound equipment than just one power box, and maybe it's 2, maybe it's 3, the bride and groom has to start to eat those costs, because the event place is going to start charging them for rental of that power, and in turn they're probably going to charge you, which means your costs go up. So you really want to be careful with how much equipment you're bringing in and what you're using, because in the end you might not have enough power to take care of it, or it's going to cost you a lot more. So just be careful of that. So that's kind of a relation to the whole hype. Just be careful, because again, the people don't care about that. Another part of the hype versus reality, I guess, is I know that there are some people that claim that having a turntable and a mixer and faders and all that stuff is necessary for doing some of your events, and you may be comfortable with that, and that's fine. I just want to say that personally, I don't get involved that much, if at all, with that. Number one, I don't have turntables, and I don't have a mixer. I use my regular mixer for my sound, and it works out just fine for me. I spend more time and focus and put more importance on playing the correct songs, playing them right in the way that you originally heard them. I know that me and Tim again have had a discussion about people getting so involved with mixing that they play all these remixes so much that and I mentioned this on my other video as well, that it gets lost. You don't even understand what the song is you're playing. And it's great that you have that creativity and you're able to mix. That you're able to mix the songs as well as you can. But the reality is that people want to hear the songs the way they hear it on the radio or the way it was originally recorded. That's what most people hear. 90% of your audience is going to hear that. Unless you're in Miami or in a club in LA or Vegas or somewhere like that, most of the people aren't going to give a crap about you being able to seamlessly mix, without a doubt, all of your songs back to back. And to be quite honest, there is such a thing called rotation of the dance floor, where sometimes your guests can get a little tired out if they're out there dancing too long. So sometimes it's not that bad to switch it up a little bit and play a little slow song here and there, or change it up by playing something a little different. So anyway, don't get so caught up in the hype of I need to have mixers and turntables and all this other stuff. You start talking about that amount of equipment, you're talking about $2, $3, $4, and even $5,000 or more worth of equipment that may or may not be needed. Now, I know, Mike, I'm not picking on you here, Mike. You have a great setup, and obviously everything works well for you, and you know what you're doing, so that's fine. But I've seen, he's got a couple of turntables, and he's got a big mixer board in the middle, and he's got his laptop, and then of course another laptop for his lighting show, or excuse me, his lighting software. But I bet that Mike is good enough at doing music that he probably doesn't use that equipment to its full extent. And Mike, you can tell me, no, Lonnie, you're full of crap. I do use it a lot, but I think you even mentioned in one of your videos that even though you have the extra lighting controller on top of your other stuff, you don't even use that. It's just your backup, and that's fine. That's great. I mean, I think all entertainment companies or DJs should have that backup, and you paid for it, it's paid for, so you're probably going to keep it. But again, the reality is do you use it that much? Do people pay that much attention at your weddings and your functions that you're mixing so seamlessly that if you don't do it, somebody says, hey, you're not a very good DJ or mixer? The only people that are going to actually notice are people that are other DJs. And the reality is if they're a DJ standing in your crowd, there might be a reason that they're not busy that night. So that's just something to think about when you're thinking about the hype. I do know that even though we've talked also about people using iPods to just do a wedding, and I know brides and grooms are attempting to do that. It's not about whether you have an iPod that can play music, because I know for a fact that there's one guy, at least he's told me, that uses his iPod to do all of his events, and he doesn't have any issues. So pay attention to your music, pay more attention to your music, and play the right songs. That's what your guests are going to care about. They're not going to care whether or not you have an iPod, as long as you're playing the right songs. So anyway, spend more time learning the right songs, and you'll definitely get more business from that. I'm going to stop this video now because I'm obviously gassing up, and I will talk to you in a second. Thanks, bye.